Have you ever felt that life's pain and difficulty were breaking you, leaving you to believe that suffering is a dead end? The truth is, most of us react to pain with frustration and confusion, which traps us in a cycle of suffering that drains our strength and leaves us feeling weak and hopeless. This reaction not only deepens the original pain, but also prevents us from finding any meaning or growth in adversity. But what if pain wasn't your enemy, but your greatest tool for forging an unbreakable inner power? In this guide, I'm going to show you the practical principles the great Stoic philosophers used to transform suffering into strength, so you can stop just enduring pain and start using it to become more resilient, focused, and wise. So if you're ready to turn your pain into power, stick with me to the very end. And if you don't want to miss future guides on building unshakable inner strength, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Chapter 1. The True Nature of Pain. In its essence, pain is a signal. It is a messenger informing you that something matters. Whether physical or emotional, pain is fundamentally information. The Stoics taught that the problem is not the pain itself, it is our judgment about the pain. The narrative we construct around our pain is what causes acute suffering. Marcus Aurelius articulated this perfectly. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This insight is the foundational pillar of the Stoic approach. Physical and emotional pain are realities. What we can shape is the meaning we assign to them. Suffering, therefore, is not a fixed quantity. It takes its intensity from our interpretation. When pain is judged as unfair or meaningless, resentment and victimhood take root, deepening the suffering. Conversely, when pain is seen as something to be learned from, it transforms into a test of resilience. It becomes part of a process of becoming wiser. The way you understand your pain determines whether it drains you or strengthens you. Furthermore, pain reveals our attachments. It shines a light on what we depend on for stability or identity. If you are crushed by criticism, your self-worth may be dependent on praise. If rejection devastates you, your peace may depend on external validation. These insights, while difficult, are useful. They help you identify areas where you have ceded control of your well-being. The Stoic antidote is a discipline of the mind, a redirection of focus inward. When pain arises, bring your attention back to what you can govern: your thoughts, choices, principles, and actions. Anchor yourself in your inner domain. This shift in focus is not instantaneous. It requires practice. But over time, it fundamentally changes how you respond to life's inevitable pain. There is no requirement to fear pain. There is a requirement to face it with courage. Allow it to strip away superficial layers and expose illusions. This is the beginning of renewal, where pain, faced with awareness, becomes a source of correction and truth. Chapter 2. The Discipline of Control and Acceptance. The philosopher Epictetus taught one of Stoicism's most liberating lessons. Freedom begins when we separate what is within our control from what is not. This distinction, the dichotomy of control, is the cornerstone of Stoic practice. Pain often blurs this boundary, tempting us to grasp for control where we have none. We expend immense energy rebelling against reality, wishing things were different, a futile exercise. What is within our control? Our beliefs, judgments, choices, attitudes, and actions. Our inner world. What is not within our control? Almost everything else. This includes our body, the opinions of others, our reputation, the weather, and external events. Pain, in its many forms, belongs to this second category. It will arrive without your permission. You cannot stop its arrival, but you can control how you meet it. You can control your perspective, your decisions, and your behavior. You can remain aligned with virtue even under intense pressure. Acceptance within this framework is not defeat or indifference. It is clarity. When you accept what is outside of your control, you stop wasting energy resisting reality. You don't have to like what happened or approve of it. You just have to stop fighting the fact that it happened. This acceptance frees you to direct your strength where it can make a difference in your own response. The Stoics urge us to focus on the work of the soul. External events fluctuate constantly. Your character, however, is always within your reach. In moments of adversity, the Stoic returns to what is theirs, their thoughts, values, and actions. You can be honest when it's uncomfortable, courageous when fear is present, and composed when the world feels unstable. Adversity, therefore, is not something to be avoided. It is a field for applying your principles. It gives you a chance to live your philosophy in real time. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to develop self-command. Every struggle is a mirror, showing where your discipline holds firm and where it weakens, providing feedback for correction. When pain visits, remind yourself that nothing irregular is happening. Loss, injury, change, these are built into the fabric of existence. Every life includes difficulty. Understanding this truth can dissolve much of the tension that comes from resistance. Acceptance begins when you stop fighting the event and start focusing on your role within it. Even while feeling grief, you still have agency. You can act with clarity and return to your principles. This posture is your character in action. By refusing to argue with reality, you conserve your energy, stop draining yourself with complaint, and return to what you can do, building from what remains. This is the Stoic way, not with cold detachment, but with directed effort and steadfast action. Chapter 3. Viewing endurance as training. Endurance is more than mere survival. It is a form of mastery, an active skill of remaining in control of your mind and actions during difficulty. The Stoics believed that adversity builds strength through repeated exposure, drawing a parallel between life's challenges and physical training. Just as the body becomes stronger through resistance, the mind gains resilience through challenge. Seneca articulated this succinctly: difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. For the Stoics, this was not a metaphor, it was literal instruction. Difficulty is the proper ground for growth. Pain tests your resolve in ways comfort never can. It forces you to make decisions that reveal your principles. Under pressure, there is no room for pretense. Your habits and values either support you or they collapse. When you endure hardship, without losing your balance or abandoning your values, you learn that your inner strength is real. You begin to trust yourself, building a quiet, unshakable self-confidence. The development of endurance begins with a daily structure. Self-discipline gives your life a foundation that can absorb shocks. This discipline is not driven by punishment, but is created through the intentional repetition of constructive practices. Morning reflection centers your priorities. Evening journaling offers perspective. Moments of silence increase awareness. Acts of restraint strengthen your judgment. These habits, though not dramatic, are powerful in their cumulative effect. Preparation for crisis cannot begin in the midst of crisis. Waiting for suffering to train the mind is too late. Begin now in your daily life. Seek mild, voluntary difficulties. Walk when it's easier to drive. Fast when it's easier to snack. Hold your words when impatience rises. These are exercises in self-control that create a pattern of remaining present and composed. Endurance also requires attention. The goal is not to ignore pain, but to move through it with awareness. Learn to sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. Every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to train your attention and recommit to your principles. These moments create the framework that allows you to remain functional during much larger challenges. When pain comes, your preparation will be revealed. The way you have trained, your mind will become visible in how you speak, carry yourself, and recover. If you have built inner stability, pain will not dominate your behavior. You will still feel the strain, but you will remain functional, able to think clearly and respond deliberately. This readiness does not erase pain, but it changes your position within it. You are no longer a victim. You meet it with awareness and practice tools. Recovery is faster when the mind is trained because you do not prolong suffering with unnecessary resistance or panic. Endurance is not waiting for difficulty to pass. It is continuing to live with intention while difficulty is present. Chapter 4. Suffering with dignity. Pain, particularly when prolonged, often brings with it the unwelcome companion of shame. When people suffer, they can feel exposed, weak, or diminished. They may believe their struggle is a reflection of personal failure. This belief adds a crushing emotional burden to the existing hardship. The Stoics vehemently rejected this idea. They understood that pain is part of the shared human condition. It does not ruin your worth. What defines your strength is not your condition, but how you act while you are in pain. Dignity in suffering comes from consistency in behavior. It means choosing to act in line with your values when pressure rises. It means being truthful when lying seems easier. It means remaining kind even when you are wounded. It means continuing to carry out your responsibilities with calm, even when you are unsettled inside. These deliberate decisions shape your character and build a deep trust in yourself. They also create a stable presence for others. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the actions of others to guide his own. He wrote about people who showed modesty in sickness, restraint in anger, and composure in setbacks. He saw in them living proof that virtue is not tied to circumstance. These examples served as a compass, reminding him that he too could act with honor, regardless of external events. You do not need to hide your pain or pretend it doesn't exist. Stoic dignity is not a mask of invulnerability. You can allow the pain to be present while still carrying yourself with strength. Let your words remain thoughtful and your behavior consistent with your principles. Let your actions reflect the discipline you have practiced. When your conduct is orderly, others gain strength from your example. You become someone others can rely on, and you remind yourself that difficulty does not get the final word. Your behavior does. The Stoics believed the most powerful person is one who is ruled by reason, not by impulse, especially under pressure. This power cannot be taken away by misfortune. It is built by choice and maintained by habit. Dignity is the visible result of that inner strength. It is the posture of a soul that has trained itself to act with clarity and purpose. When the world is unsteady, your example matters more. When life is painful, your conduct matters most. Let your dignity become the quiet strength that others remember, the anchor that keeps your character whole. Chapter 5. Pain and Purpose. Pain possesses a remarkable ability to act as a filter, stripping away life's distractions to reveal what is essential. When life is easy, it is tempting to scatter our attention across trivial concerns, the pursuit of comfort, the opinions of others, and convenience. Pain, however, abruptly interrupts this dispersion. When it strikes, our attention becomes sharper, our focus narrows, and the unnecessary falls away. What remains are the people, values, and goals that carry deep meaning. In the Stoic view, pain clarifies. It cuts through illusion and removes false priorities. It forces reflection, bringing us back to essential questions. It interrupts our routine and asks us to evaluate whether our actions reflect what we truly believe. In moments of suffering, you are less likely to act on impulse or chase fleeting pleasures. You begin to ask whether your behavior aligns with the values you claim to hold. This reflection, though difficult, is useful, as it resets our path and helps us find direction. When you are suffering, ask yourself probing questions. What is this experience showing me about my values? What am I holding on to that no longer serves me? What matters so much that its loss causes this pain? These questions do not eliminate the pain, but they bring structure to it, helping you locate the lesson within the discomfort. They bring you back to your center, the part of you governed by principles rather than emotion. The purpose of life, for the Stoics, is not comfort. The goal is to become someone capable of meeting life's harsh conditions with strength and wisdom. The goal is to live with excellence and develop virtue, courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. Pain reminds us of this by removing what does not matter and bringing a sense of urgency. It reminds us that our time is limited, that our actions have weight, and that our habits shape who we become. A life without hardship can lead to complacency and drift. Pain interrupts this passivity. It demands that we examine our circumstances closely and make focused decisions. Pain closes the gap between what you believe and what you actually do. It forces action, whether physical, emotional, or mental, moving you to evaluate your approach and correct your course. Purpose is not hidden in comfort. It is shaped by repeated choices and becomes clear through action and endurance. Let pain focus you, guiding your attention toward what has lasting value and raising your standards by confronting you with the reality of your actions. Chapter 6. Emotional clarity. Through suffering, pain has the effect of exposing what we feel deeply, stripping away distractions to reveal the core of our emotional patterns. In the face of suffering, emotions like anger, sadness, fear, and disappointment surface with clarity. This clarity, however, uncomfortable, is useful. It shows us what we value, where we are reactive and where we are fragile. The Stoics did not dismiss emotions, they studied them. They treated emotions as signals, not commands. Fear signals that something important may be threatened. Anger signals that a boundary may have been violated. Sadness signals a loss. These signals are valuable because they point us toward reflection, inviting us to ask, is this emotion accurate? Is it useful? Is it guiding me to act well, or pulling me away from reason? Emotional clarity comes from creating a distance between the feeling and the action. When in pain, this distance becomes harder to maintain, but is even more essential. The ability to pause, examine what you feel, and then decide how to act is the foundation of emotional discipline. This discipline is built through practice. In moments of suffering, take time to reflect. Write down what you feel. Speak it aloud in a calm tone. Pay attention to your body's reactions, your breathing, your posture, your energy. Notice what sharpens your reaction and what calms it. Emotions do not make us weak. Unexamined emotions make us unstable. The Stoic trains to see the emotion, acknowledge it, and then choose a behavior aligned with their principles. Through this practice, pain becomes a teacher of emotional clarity. It becomes a mirror that reflects the inner state we might otherwise overlook. Used this way, pain sharpens our insight, revealing where our emotional responses are shaped by habit rather than awareness. The ability to step back and observe the pain while it is happening creates space. In that space, you find the option to respond with purpose. Over time, this practice builds a calm, structured mindset. You begin to understand the conditions that trigger you and to recognize emotional patterns that have gone unchecked. This insight gives you the leverage to change them. You no longer feel the need to resolve everything immediately or to react with arguments or withdrawal. You can hold the moment, examine it, and choose the right timing for your next action. This stability becomes a form of confidence that is visible in your tone and posture. When others around you are unsteady, your balance becomes a source of order. Chapter 7. Resilience as a daily practice. Resilience is not a fixed trait. It is a capacity developed through consistent, daily repetition. The Stoics believed in training the mind daily to face life with composure, building the endurance, self-awareness, and ability to remain effective in adversity. This training begins with mindset. Each day is an opportunity to prepare for future difficulties. Marcus Aurelius would write in his journal each morning, reminding himself that the day would bring obstacles. This was not pessimism, it was preparation. Expecting discomfort allows you to meet it without surprise, preparing your mind to act with steadfastness instead of resistance. Daily practices support this preparation. Morning reflection builds mental order, physical discipline builds tolerance for discomfort, and deliberate speech trains you to be clear under pressure. These are habits that accumulate strength over time. Resilience also includes recovery. A resilient person experiences setbacks like anyone else. What sets them apart is their ability to return to a state of balance with intention. They do not stay down for long periods. They pause, take inventory of what occurred, and make practical adjustments. This recovery is an active process, built through specific habits such as self-reflection, physical rest, and mental realignment. Reflection is a key part of recovery. After a difficult moment, take time to review it. Ask yourself, what triggered me? What response did I choose? Did it align with my values? What would I do differently next time? These questions strengthen awareness and help you identify patterns that weaken your behavior under stress. Rest is also important. Physical and emotional fatigue reduce your ability to respond well. Recovery includes making space for sleep, solitude, and stillness, allowing the mind to reset. Making rest part of your routine is a form of discipline that protects your long-term effectiveness. Realignment grounds you in your values. When hardship knocks you off course, you need practices that return your focus, such as journaling, prayer, or simple breathing exercises. These tools do not remove the difficulty. They realign you with your purpose so you can continue forward. Recovery reduces the fear of future setbacks. When you experience the process of regaining control, you stop fearing disruption. You know that you can face strain and still return to order. This trust in your adaptability creates confidence and makes you more willing to take responsibility under pressure. The repetition of small acts of control and principle alignment is what builds the structure of resilience. Chapter 8. Transforming pain into principle. Pain, when processed through a philosophical lens, can lead to either bitterness or wisdom. The path taken depends on how you interpret and respond to the experience. The Stoics chose to transform pain into guiding principles, allowing suffering to refine their beliefs, sharpen their character, and deepen their understanding of life. To transform pain into principle, begin by identifying what the experience is teaching you. Ask, what lesson is being repeated? What truth is becoming harder to ignore? What standard of behavior does this situation now require? When you draw principles from pain, you create stability. You are no longer reacting to every difficulty, you are following a standard. If you face betrayal, it can sharpen your commitment to honesty. If you face injustice, it can deepen your dedication to fairness. If you lose what you love, it can strengthen your gratitude for what remains. Principles give direction, making future decisions clearer. They act as a compass when emotions are high and conditions are unstable. The Stoics believed a well-lived life was built on principles tested by hardship. Pain revealed where virtue was real and where it was only theoretical. Document your insights. Turn them into maxims, repeat them during reflection, apply them when you feel tested. Over time, these principles become part of how you live, becoming automatic. Your character becomes shaped by wisdom that came through direct experience. Pain is often the source of your deepest convictions. It forces a confrontation between what you believe and what you live, pushing your values from theory into action. When tested by suffering, vague beliefs become more defined. You begin to see clearly what you are willing to stand for. This process strips away convenience and leaves only what is stable and lasting. It tests the strength of your beliefs through repetition. If a belief cannot hold up under pressure, it must be questioned or strengthened. Each hardship highlights what is still fragile and what has become firm. Pain removes what is weak, excuses, rationalizations, and unexamined assumptions. When something you believed in collapses under the weight of experience, you are given the chance to build a better foundation. Use pain to define your values with precision. Write them down, speak them aloud, apply them in moments of pressure. Let them be shaped by what you have lived through, not just what you have read. Pain teaches you to live your values with greater seriousness, adding weight to your decisions and creating a stronger alignment between your words and actions. Let pain be the place where your life becomes more exact and intentional. Chapter 9. Leadership through suffering. Suffering has a way of revealing who people turn to when things become difficult. In moments of uncertainty, those who have trained themselves to remain steady are looked to for guidance. The Stoics viewed leadership as a role earned through conduct, not granted by title. Pain sharpens that conduct, testing whether your behavior matches the standards you expect from others. A leader shaped by hardship speaks less from theory and more from lived experience. They have confronted weakness and practiced discipline, knowing the cost of collapse and the value of control. This kind of leader does not avoid discomfort. They carry themselves with presence under pressure. They remain composed when others begin to unravel. This steadiness comes from repeated exposure to difficulty and a deep commitment to principle. Leadership through suffering is grounded in example. It is not about control, but about clarity. Others are drawn to someone who can maintain order while others panic. Someone who does not need to dominate but remains consistent in their actions and words. When people see that you do not break under pressure, they begin to trust your direction. This trust is earned, not declared. Pain prepares you for this role by removing illusion. You no longer pretend to be invincible. You understand what it means to be vulnerable without being unstable. You learn to carry hardship with composure. When you face your own pain with integrity, you become more equipped to guide others through theirs. You do not rush to solve everything. You provide structure, ask useful questions, and keep the environment grounded in action and responsibility. The Stoic leader does not try to inspire through speeches alone. They live in a way that speaks for them. They hold themselves to the same standards they expect from others, showing restraint, courage, and consistency. These traits are practiced, not performed, the result of years of facing discomfort with clarity and purpose. Let suffering prepare you to lead, showing you how to stay upright when others fall. Let it teach you to be firm without harshness, calm without avoidance, and honest without aggression. Let your behavior become a reference point that others rely on, not because you asked for attention, but because you lived in a way that earned it. Chapter 10. The Final Forging. Every experience of pain shapes your character. By the end of this journey, what remains is no longer raw. It has been tested, tempered, and strengthened. The final chapter of pain's influence is integration, bringing together all the lessons into a life that reflects wisdom, resilience, and calm. The Stoics believed that philosophy was not for reading alone, but for living. When pain has moved through you and left behind structure, clarity, and principle, the next step is consistency. You must continue to walk the path, applying what you have learned in every role you occupy. Daily life is the proving ground. There will be noise, delay, criticism, loss, and failure. These are the conditions where strength is demonstrated, and they do not need to disrupt you. They remind you to return to your training, repeating the work of holding your posture, guarding your speech, organizing your thoughts, and adjusting your course. The final forging of character requires humility. You will make mistakes. There will be moments where your habits overtake your awareness. These lapses are part of the process. The Stoics viewed them as signals, not as permanent setbacks. When you notice them, pause. Take the opportunity to return to your principles. These moments provide feedback, reminding you where your attention must go and helping you to strengthen your discipline, not abandon it. Pain will continue to act as a guide. Each discomfort, each inner conflict, each difficult decision will bring another test. These reminders are not punishments, they are tools for alignment. When you forget yourself, pain brings you back. Mastery is not about perfection, but about direction. You keep moving in alignment with what you have chosen to stand for. The memory of past missteps does not need to become guilt. It becomes guidance, teaching you to step with more care, to listen with more awareness, and to speak with more responsibility. With this level of reflection, you gain depth. You live in such a way that your presence reflects your principles without the need for explanation. Let pain become part of your identity, not as a wound, but as a shaping tool. Let it remind you of what you have carried, what you have endured, and how you remain true to your values. Each hardship teaches that being prepared matters more than being comfortable. You will meet hardship again. That is the nature of a full life. But you will move through it with the tools you have built, responding with greater composure because you have practiced returning to your center. You have built this structure through repetition and aligned your decisions with principle. This work is internal, often quiet and difficult, but it is the foundation of a stable life. This is the shape pain leaves behind, not decoration for display, but structure, calm, focused, consistent. Let pain shape you into someone steady, deepening your awareness, sharpening your actions, and clarifying your intentions. Let it remind you that growth is possible through effort, courage, and reflection. Let it build a life that does not collapse in loss, does not drift in chaos, and does not abandon what is just, useful, and true. The journey through pain, as guided by the Stoics, is a profound transformation. It begins with the simple yet radical understanding that our suffering stems not from events, but from our judgment about them. This single insight is the key that unlocks the door from the prison of reaction to the open field of reasoned response. The path laid out is one of deliberate practice, distinguishing what we can control from what we cannot, accepting reality with clarity and viewing every hardship as a training ground for the soul. It is about enduring with dignity, discovering purpose in adversity, and achieving emotional clarity by treating feelings as signals, not commands. This is not a cure for pain is an integral part of a life fully lived. Instead, it is the means to forge pain into principle, to transform suffering into strength, and to build a character that is resilient, stable, and whole. The work is not completed after one great trial, but is practiced daily in the small moments of discomfort and frustration. It is a quiet, internal, and lifelong commitment to yourself. Ultimately, the Stoic path teaches us that while we cannot always command the world around us, we hold absolute sovereignty over our inner world. In that domain, and through that power, we find the freedom to live a life of virtue, purpose, and profound peace, no matter what storms may rage outside. What was the most impactful lesson you learned from the Stoics today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your wisdom might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. If you found value in this guide, please give it a like and share it with someone who might be going through a difficult time. And of course, to continue this journey of building inner strength, subscribe to the channel for more guides on applying ancient wisdom to modern life. For your next step, I recommend watching our video on the Stoic practice of negative visualization right here. It's the perfect companion to what you've learned today.